Hi, I'm Derek Mooney and this is Read Right Now, and today we're going to do things a little bit differently. Now each week when we give out our number, you call us for either a workbook or help. Today is no exception. Our number is 1-800 20 20 65. You may not realise it, but all around you there are people who have returned to learning. The common factor with them all is they have taken the vital first step and made the call. This week we're going to take a look behind the scenes to find out what happens when you pick up the phone, which is exactly what our learner this week did. His name is Paddy O'D. He's a retired photographer and now a regular caller to our helpline.
No matter how you pronounce your words, no matter how you speak, no matter where you're from, you know, you'll find that they almost speak the same language.
It's always the same number, 1-800 20 20 65. But behind the scenes, there are many different stories.
Hello, Read Right Now, how can I help?
Making a simple call has literally changed people's lives. So if perhaps you need help with this week's learning points of reading holiday brochures, understanding plurals and using question, exclamation and speech marks, our tutors are waiting just upstairs to take your call. Because when you ring this number, this is where all of your calls are answered. This is the headquarters of NALA, the National Adult Literacy Agency. Now I'm going to head inside, and in the meantime, you can meet this week's learner. His name is Paddy O'D. Paddy O'D spent his working years as a photographer for Bord Fáilte, taking the photos that sold Ireland. He managed this despite leaving school early with minimal spelling skills.
My formal education was when I started in school in Pearse Street, and I was there until 10, 11 years of age, and we moved to Crumlin. And then in Crumlin then I went to the Christian Brothers. Suddenly you're in almost a military situation where you had these Christian Brothers who demanded and wanted to know the answers, but you didn't know the answers. And sometimes they come along and if you unfortunately pull the locks, you couldn't get a haircut, pull the locks of your hair, the back of your hair, give you a thump on the back, the head, and that used to, I won't say terrify me, but it used to put me completely off. I couldn't think. My formal education ended when I was 14, and that was a sort of an accepted thing. I didn't know even about further education. To me, school after that was for the rich kids. So we weren't rich, so I wasn't going anywhere except work. I could read fairly well, but not great. But my spelling was a disaster. It would take me nearly 2 days to write, a small letter, because I'd scribble it out, and then I'd have to find a dictionary, then I'd have to find a word, and by the time I did all that, I just didn't bother. I just gave up, I was lucky enough to get a messenger boy's job in Fógra Fáilte, which was one of the Irish tourist boards. And then one day someone said, would you like to work in the photographic section? Shrugged my shoulders, and that was it. It just went from one thing to the other. Then I eventually got in as a photographer, and I was sent traveling around different areas around the country. I was sent on this assignment to photograph fly tying in Donegal. When I walked into the room where they had a display of all the different feathers, I said, my God, this is fantastic. The colour here is absolutely brilliant. Reading and writing really became important when I got a little bit of promotion, and that was to order the chemicals, supplies, the film, and that's really when I started thinking, where do you go from here? How do you solve this problem? Well, I had to learn how to spell different counties and different towns and places. I just had to learn how to do that, because like I'd be sent down to Kerry, you know. Okay, Kerry wasn't too bad, K-E-R-R-Y, you know. But like when you got something like Ballydehob, you know, how do you even start with Ballydehob? Well, I was half clever, you see, because being a duck and diver, I'd actually photograph a lot of this and I'd number it. So like that meant that when I come back, I just look at the photograph and I'd know then what that was. I just write it down on the caption, you know, so got clever. This is some of the photographs, you know, that I took. This was on the papal visit. To prove that I was there, that's me there. I had hair then.
Paddy, this week's learner, talks about taking pictures for holiday brochures. A brochure is a magazine with pictures and information about a product or a service. Once you've an idea of where you want to go, holiday brochures give you more information about activities, pricing, and standard of accommodation. This brochure advertises sun holidays for the summer season. Near the beginning of the brochure, there's general information about the different places included. This brochure contains information on holidays in the Costa del Sol, Cyprus, and Turkey. The number beside each name tells you on which page you'll find the information. Let's say Paddy wants to go on holiday to Tenerife. You can see that this information is on page 102 in this brochure. On page 102, you can find out some general information about Tenerife, such as what types of activities you can do, or if there are any interesting places to visit. You can see that Paddy can scuba dive, windsurf, and fish in Tenerife. After the general information, you'll find details on the various hotels available. When listing hotels, most brochures use the same headings underneath pictures of the hotel. In this example, you can see that the headings under Red Beach Apartments are location, amenities, accommodation, and information. Location tells you where the hotel is situated in the resort, if it's near a beach or restaurants. Amenities tells you what activities are offered at the hotel. Accommodation tells you about the kind of rooms available. The information section gives you payment and contact details for the hotel. Holiday brochures give you a lot of information. Once you're familiar with the general layout, it's easy to find the information that you want.
Reading holiday brochures can look very confusing, but if you take each heading one by one, then you shouldn't really have a problem. But it's vital that you take that first step. Because when you do, these are the tutors who'll take your call. Each day they deal with a wide variety of queries, from the person who wanted to find out more about reading food labels to the caller who wanted to learn how to send a card. The range of calls may be broad, but there's one thing they have in common. They've all been made by people who have made the decision to return to learning. And here's a man who can tell us how. John Stewart, you're National Adult Literacy Coordinator. A big mouthful, but I'm sure you can tell us what NALA can do for us.
Certainly, Derek. Our aim here at NALA is to ensure that all adults with literacy difficulties have access to high-quality learning opportunities.
And what's the first step anyone should take?
The first step in this case is to pick up the phone and order the Read Right Now workbook.
But how important do you think that first call is?
People would have huge worries and apprehensions about making that phone call. They may not have spoken to members of their own family about their literacy difficulties. And here we're asking them to pick up the phone, to talk to a stranger, and to order the workbook.
And be completely open.
And be completely open, and that's not the easiest thing.
But once that first hurdle is crossed, it does become easier, doesn't it?
The response that we get from learners is that once they do that, it's like a burden is relieved. And they walk with an easier step, and we hope to walk with them with that easier step down a learning road.
And is the feedback good? What are people telling you?
The feedback is extremely positive. People are telling us that they feel a sense of relief in confronting their problems and in doing something about it.
Thanks, John. Well, as you've heard John say, it's about taking responsibility for yourself. If you'd like a copy of our new workbook, then you can call our free phone number. It's 1-800 20 20 65. And if you want more tips on how to take control of your learning, then turn to the section for Programme 6. Why not call us now? Now, one person who did call us recently is this week's learner, Paddy O'Dea, and it opened up a whole new world to him. Paddy has been an avid collector for many years, of things, but also of knowledge. For most of his life, he has absorbed knowledge on a casual basis, but recently he has taken on a more active approach.
I always loved to own stuff or wanted stuff, and but stuff that was crafted, was made by people. When I was travelling around the country, I'd go into auctions or junk shops. There was a lot of junk shops then, and you know, look at stuff, buy stuff, or you know, maybe I'd have stuff that I could barter with. And I love bartering. I love buying something and then exchanging that for something else. And look at this. You never know what you find here. Look at that, for grinding. The bowl grinding down. And there's the way the old plates. The old plates for printing. Look. That's the way they would have printed. You know, who wants them? Who's mad enough to collect them? Well, this in itself, you see, is another form of education. Everything. I don't think you learn anything without it becoming an educational piece. Without, you know, reading and writing and arithmetic, I think they were the three things that was always sort of drummed into my head. If you have reading, writing, arithmetic, and in learning what I needed, then I progressed from there. It really was by accident at first that I was switching around the channels, and I saw the Read and Write programme, and I said, that's rather interesting, you know, it just caught my attention. And then they said, you know, it's on next week, and I said, God, I must watch that, you know. So that's exactly what I did. Hello? I rang up looking for the Read and Write book, and they sent it to me, and they rang me and asked me, did I get it? So with that, a little bit of a conversation started, you know, and then they rang me after the programme, the next, either the day or day or two after, to ask me about various things in the programme. And I just, you know, told them what I thought. And I find now, you know, that where I walked and drove by signposts, you know, I intend now to look at them and spell the names, which is rather interesting, you know, to me. And they were very, very good because, you know, they'd ask you questions and there wouldn't be any pressure on you, like, you know, in school, like, you know, to give an answer, you know what I mean, that you could sort of answer at your own pace or whatever was in your head, and, you know, and they would help you along even if they knew you were fumbling for words and things like that, you know. And that's what I found absolutely brilliant about it. It's as if you're talking to your best friend and you're expressing yourself. You can express yourself with them. You can talk the way you normally talk. You're not trying to do anything different or be anything different. And they are exactly the same. They're coming back to you and they're helping you along. And you know, you can relate to that, so there's no pressure on you whatsoever. Absolutely no pressure on you whatsoever, you know. And, you know, no matter how you pronounce your words, no matter how you speak, no matter where you're from, you know, you'll find that they almost speak the same language.